This is the Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. Episode 64, recorded July 7th, 2016. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Weekly Set, the official podcast of TVEnthusiast.com. I am your host and editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast, Tyson Gifford, and joining me today, as always, is our keeper of comics here, Will Roerick.
Hello.
Okay, so today we are going to be talking about the latest episodes of Brain Dead. We're going to also talk about the pilot episode of Mr. Robot, because we finally got Will to watch it, and then we're going to be talking about episode 3 of season 2 of Peaky Blinders. We're like halfway through season 2 now on our Peaky Blinders Show Club. And so that puts us halfway through the whole series, actually, if you think about it.
It does.
So let's get started. Let's start off with Brain Dead. So another head exploded, this time on live TV.
Woo, heads exploding all over the place.
But thanks to the 8-second time delay, nobody saw it.
Nobody saw it, yeah.
And instead, they just started reporting on it everywhere as a stroke.
Yeah, it's a
one hell of a stroke if your head explodes.
Yeah, I know, right? Whoosh.
But yeah, I think the biggest aspect of this episode, or like the key development of this episode, is that our central protagonist, Laurel, met Gustav, who we met in the last episode.
Yeah.
And these are clearly like the two kind of like protagonists of the story.
Yeah, we're finally, Laurel and Gustav are our protagonists for this story. It looks like now.
They've met up, they've shared information. Gustav now knows about, you might think I'm crazy.
Yep.
They also talked to the daughter of the doctor who was the first one whose head exploded. And so like you got the three of them as like the Scooby Gang of this show.
He doesn't like Gustav much though.
It was funny also hearing it was at the explanation, I think it was Gustav that gave of why heads are exploding, which is that the bugs are farting.
Yeah, the bugs are farting. So the bugs fart into your brain and then your brain explodes.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Meanwhile, in the episode, we got the rising conflict between Luke and the other Democratic candidate for whip, I guess. Yeah. Basically, was it in this episode or the last episode where she was taken over?
It was this episode. No, it was the last episode. You're right.
It was towards the end of the last episode, I believe. Yeah, where she was taken over. So
it was this episode because they gave her the flower.
Yeah, that's right. They gave her the clippings from the cherry blossom trees, which is where the brain bugs like to hang out before they enter someone's head.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the bugs got into her head. She was like out sick. Luke like kind of made peace with her, like sending like a gift to her or something. But the gift that was sent was the actual.
Yeah, it was the actual. Yeah.
Infected her. So Luke's secretary and her are like allies and trying to get even more people connected to this.
Trying to get even more people connected to this. The secretary does another attempt on Luke with the flowers, but Luke decides that the flowers make the place look like a funeral home. And
Laurel takes him out, yeah.
Laurel takes him out.
But now we have Luke's rival here is like kind of all out declaring war on him, trying to get his job position from him. And that's just interesting because you get the moment where she's addressing the party and she's like, why do we have to be the party of adults?
Yeah.
It's like, sounds very much like our current political system, you know?
Yeah, no, why do we have to be the party of adults? That's funny.
But yeah, as a result of their war, Luke ends up exposing a story about her in which she basically had her dog put to sleep so she could go on vacation. And then she retaliates by leaking a story about Luke having the affair. which of course she knows because the person he was having the affair with is one of the other brain bug people.
Yeah.
And so this is exposed now. So Luke's family life is just basically destroyed now.
Basically destroyed now because, that got out.
Meanwhile, Gustav is trying to catch a bug. So he's playing You Might Think I'm Crazy on loop in his apartment with like bug motels or roach motels like all over the place to try to catch some of them. He ends up catching a roach instead of one of the brain bugs. That doesn't work out. He goes back to try to find another one, and with his experiment playing the music again, comes to realize that his cat is infected. The saddest infected story so far in the episode, or in the show.
No, the cat. Damn it, cat.
No, not cat. You could see it coming though before, even when he had first set up the music to play, and like he had basically been wearing the solo cups on his ears, like taped to his head to prevent the bugs from getting into his head. And you saw the bugs crawling on him, and he like knocked him off and got up, and then you saw like the bugs kind of heading in the general direction of the cat, and it's like, oh no. But it happened. Gustav's cat is now infected. Gustav now knows his cat's infected. Now I guess he has a subject to dissect to get the bugs out. But yeah, Gustav's cat.
No! Gustav's cat. We only knew you briefly, but you were the best.
You were the best of us all.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else to say about the episode?
Nope.
Still liking it?
Still liking it. I wish more would happen.
Yeah.
I feel like it's meandering plot-wise.
That's kind of like the line the show's going, though, is it's taking this kind of like slow burn political drama about, this kind of stuff that wouldn't necessarily be entertaining to us, and then adding this like sci-fi element to it, but it's still pacing like a slow burn political drama.
Yeah, it's still, exactly. Yeah, it's still pacing like a slow burn political drama. Yeah.
Let's move on from Brain Dead. Let's talk about Mr. Robot. So you finally got to watch the pilot episode. I was able to watch the pilot episode before it aired. It was like the first screener we ever got on this site.
I know, you got a screener, and like, as soon as you watched it, you were like, oh my god, you have to see this. And I'm like, well, it's not even a thing that's out.
It's so good. It's caught on. People absolutely love it. The first season has been out for a while. Season 2 is going to debut next week, I believe. On I think it's the 13th that season 2 is debuting on. And yeah, it's become like really highly anticipated. This first episode of the second season, people are like waiting for it. They're really excited. And they're even going to be doing a Walking Dead style after show called Hacking Robots.
A hacking robot.
Just like the whole like Talking Dead thing. So they're going to be doing that for Mr. Robot this year as well. So it's really caught on. It's really become popular. I'm very happy about it. It's a big turn from the kind of general style of what you'd expect to see on a USA series.
It is.
USA was always kind of like bright. People used to joke and say it was like the Bright Blue Skies channel. It was all these shows about people with bright blue skies, and they're in these big jobs, and they are happy, and they have like their family friend systems, and they're kind of quirky, and Mr. Robot is not that at all. So Mr. Robot is actually a lot like Fight Club is what I compared it to when I wrote my first article about the pilot episode. So tell me a little bit about what you think of the pilot episode.
What can I say? It's tough to explain. This is a very very character focused like show, and what's weird is it's not really character focused. That it's laser focused on one character.
Mm-hmm.
We get our protagonist. His name escapes me for whatever reason. Elliot. So we get our protagonist, right? And he is kind of like this super genius computer hacker, like that type. But he's not like the stereotype. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, in a lot of ways he is. He's a loner. Pretty much, he has social anxiety. But it's played like very realistically, not like as like tropes. This isn't like just like a bunch of tropes like, oh, the guy is a computer hacker, so of course he's a nerd, and of course he doesn't have friends because
yeah, and all he does is make Star Wars references, or
dude. Hey, dude doesn't make a single Star Wars reference in this entire episode. I gotta give him props for that because they don't do that. I get the show props for that. Like I think the only pop culture thing he references is like the Hunger Games, and that's like that's part of like a rant he's having in his head about like society.
Yeah,
that's literally it.
Yeah, and it's related to somebody else too. It's like
somebody else too.
It's an observation he's made about that person. So it's
he's like I feel like he's a lot like Sherlock Holmes in that way. Like he's like a modern computer hacker Sherlock Holmes. because the brilliance of it is like a lot of what he does, it's all based on observation more than anything. It's not,
like when he hacks, it's not like typing furiously on a keyboard till he is able to succeed through it. He does social engineering. He'll call people up and use the bits of information he does have to get more bits of information.
Yeah, to get
and
more.
And uses that information then to try to break whatever password they have or whatever. It's very realistic.
Yeah, it's very realistic. And the way they talk about computers, like, Jesus, this show is such a breath of fresh air just for that, because like in any other show, computers are magic. It's like it's all magic.
I remember saying that after I'd watched this for the first time. We'd been talking also about Arrow, and I was talking about how weird it is to like watch Arrow after having seen Mr. Robot, and it's like it was already bad with Felicity and her hacking stuff, but like it's so much worse after watching Mr. Robot, because it's like now you've seen it done right on a TV show where it's like the actual code on screen is real code, it's like
the actual code. Yeah, I was the code he was typing. It's like, holy shit, that's real code. That's not just like random words.
Yeah, there aren't like there isn't like some super graphical interface of stuff zooming around on the screen. There isn't any like
it's like a
cheesy shit,
giant hologram or cheesy shit.
He doesn't like furiously type away at his keyboard pointlessly. Like he it's like when Felicity hacks on Arrow, it's like those like old typing games you would have on a computer to teach you how to type to get your words per minute. It's like she was doing that as fast as she could to try to and the faster she went, the quicker she was able to hack, and it was so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous.
That's not how it works.
If I do this fast enough, I will hack. I will hack into the world.
Yeah, and this is like legit hacking, like where he stops, he contemplates, he executes a specific function, he uses information he has to socially engineer another function, It's realistic. That's how hacking actually works. And it's not boring either, which is what's fascinating, because a lot of that kind of furious hack typing, stuff like that, that's basically all like a solution to get away from the boredom of what hacking would actually appear like. Yet this is in no way boring.
No, this show isn't boring at all. It's like, no, it's not. It's intense. Actually, it's very tense. Mostly because the way they do it, and it's brilliant, is they give you this character, you don't know who he is, but right off the bat, they make him interesting. They make him like, okay, who is this guy? Right? And he has like a way about him, like that you just want to know more.
A lot of that's just the actor too, and even just his physical appearance, his eyes,
Yeah, his eyes.
He has those kind of buggy eyes. They call that in Japan or in like Asia, they call that sanpaku eyes, which is like considered, it's something that like John F. Kennedy had, for example, that they say is like a sign of like either bad luck or possible mental instability. It's like that's in superstition, that's what it is, but the actor has that. And it lends a lot to your perception of that character being a little off,
Yeah, that's true, because he has those like weird buggy eyes, and it kind of like you could also like trace it back to, it makes sense for somebody who spends a lot of their time like in front of a computer screen, like maybe staring at a computer did that to his eyes. But you're like, well, the first thing he introduces himself, right? He takes down this guy, for child pornography, and it's a really interesting scene because again, this show doesn't go towards tropes, this show, like, I really appreciate that this show strives to keep it real, like in everything, he has a conversation with this guy, like, this is a real person who's doing horrible shit, sure, but they portray him as like a real actual person and not just some cartoon villain, like, yeah.
He's not like licking his lips and staring at him intensely like a predator or something. It's like, no, he's just a real person who, now that he's starting to realize slowly that he's been caught, is becoming very scared and desperate.
Yeah, very scared and desperate. He lays out, and basically in this scene, we're meeting the protagonist, Elliot, for the first time. And in this scene, he basically lays out exactly who he is, what he's capable of. And that's your jumping off point. That's your base. That's where, okay, shit. This guy is like something else.
Yeah. It kind of initially starts off very much like, it's like almost like Dexter, with the idea of this kind of like social vigilante hacker kind of guy or something.
Right.
But what's interesting is he didn't like pursue like child pornographers on the internet and stumble upon this guy. He just discovered this place because they had really fast internet, and he was psyched about that. And then that struck his curiosity, and being a hacker, he started kind of like poking around,
Yeah, he says,
and then he stumbled upon something.
He uses the line, it itched that part of my brain or something, in the back of my brain. He uses that line, and I guess that's how he decides what his targets are. If something strikes his curiosity, he's gonna go for it. And that's why and you see that again when he's investigating this guy that his therapist is dating, He said, he was peeping around into like her personal business because apparently he does this with everybody. He goes around and he snoops. He's up in everybody's business that he knows.
Yeah. He's violating everyone's privacy.
He's violating everybody's privacy. So of course he's up in her business and he finds this guy, and then something, he discovers something about this guy strikes him as off. And he says it scratches that part of his brain. So he decides to go further with this guy.
Through the episode, it's kind of like the B plot of the episode in many ways.
It's kind of like the B plot of the episode, yeah.
He eventually figures out that the reason why he's having trouble finding information on this guy is that the guy, as he's initially presented himself, doesn't exist. He's having an affair on his wife, cheating on his wife, and in doing so, he's like, using a false identity. And that's why, like, there's such a slim trail on this guy. And the slim trail is what intrigued Elliot.
Yeah, the slim trail is what intrigued Elliot, that there wasn't, like, really a trail for this guy. That's what intrigued him and got him digging further. Now, the main plot of the episode is, well, we haven't even mentioned Elliot. His day job is he works for a cybersecurity firm. Their main client is this company called Corp, which I guess is like basically like Dell or Apple.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it just kind of has that giant .com, maybe like Microsoft or Google or something like that type company, like a huge, larger than life company. But I'd probably say it was more along the lines of like an IBM, as like it seems like it's been around for a long time.
The logo is definitely modeled after Dell's.
Yeah. Or Enron. It's like very similar to the Enron logo.
So it does look like Enron. So it's like Corp, but he calls it Evil Corp. And then throughout the entire episode, everybody refers to it as Evil Corp. And that gets me thinking like we're seeing things through his perspective.
Exactly. That's what it is we're seeing everything from his exact perspective. So when he decides that he's just going to call it Evil Corp, everybody says Evil Corp because you're basically, when they're saying E Corp, but his mind is already like, translating that to evil, and then that's what we're hearing.
There's even points where, there's advertisements or signs that explicitly say Evil Corp on them. And it's like, so then you get like, so we're seeing everything filtered through him. So like, we're not even, so while it gives you the appearance that you're viewing the events as an objective third party, you're really not. You're viewing everything filtered through his personal lens.
And as such, it's what it's basically playing with is the idea of an unreliable narrator, because he's, not only are we seeing it filtered through the way he sees things, but we're also very quickly told, he takes drugs.
Yeah.
He has serious depression issues.
Yeah, seriously. The part where he's just sitting in his apartment crying because he's lonely, because he's genuinely like he's antisocial, like he has social anxiety, but he doesn't revel in it. He doesn't he has a genuine negative opinion of people in general and a genuine negative opinion of society, but he doesn't revel in his loneliness. Like, he doesn't like take pride in being some kind of loner. He actually doesn't want to be a loner, but he can't seem to connect with people, and so that ends up with him crying in his apartment.
Through everything that's going on in his life, he ends up meeting Christian Slater's character, who is the titular character of the show, Mr. Robot, as he's referred to, because he has that jacket with the patch on it that says Mr. Robot.
We actually don't find that out towards the end of the episode. He actually kind of appears at the beginning of the episode as like a homeless man on the bus who's calling.
Yeah, he shows up a few times, kind of.
Who's calling out to him at first, but he ignores him on purpose because he's also paranoid. He also has this feeling that he's being watched by these men in black. And at that moment on the bus, there's these men in black, and he knows they're watching him. And then this homeless guy starts calling out to him, and he starts ignoring him. And he's just ignoring him because he feels it's part of the ruse.
Mm-hmm.
He's like so built up. Like these guys are after him. And and another thing. So basically what happens, how this comes together is there is a huge attack on Evil Corp's servers, like
DDoS or
major DDoS, but something like even worse. Like there's a
rootkit, is what they end up finding out what it is, which means somebody actually put direct software onto the server.
Yep. So somebody had to have access to the server from inside. So they get there, and he manages to use actual realistic hacking skills, not Felicity hacking,
real Unix code here
to stop it, and then finally he isolates it. He stops it from spreading, and then he has a chance to delete it off the server entirely.
He finds a README file.
That says "Leave me here," and and he finds out like the signature, the sign. It's F Society, which
is something you've been saying earlier in the episode too.
Well, yeah, which F Society, that was his rant earlier in the episode that I already mentioned. Like his whole rant was F Society for this and this and this. It's actually a pretty insightful rant. Like I can relate to it. But yeah, so he's like, well, that's strange, because it's almost like he wrote it. But he has a chance to delete it, but he actually doesn't. He keeps it there, but he
has it blocked away.
He has it blocked away, so only he has access to it, and not the original hackers. So basically, he stows it away for his own personal use later down the line, because he has a beef with E-Corp. Obviously, if he's calling them Evil Corp, he doesn't like his job, because his job is basically protecting the existence of like companies like that, which he feels are doing the world no good.
They're the biggest client of his day job is Evil Corp.
Yep, is Evil Corp, the biggest client of his day job. So basically, after he does that, he gets a Christian Slater, Mr. Robot himself, confronts him and basically spills the beans about like his operation, who he is, what they're trying to accomplish, which is wealth redistribution by way of completely taking down Evil Corp.
Yeah, and he takes him to his place of business, which is like an old abandoned, like, was it fair or carnival grounds that was originally called Fun Society, but the U and the N are gone, so it's F Society.
Yeah. Yeah, that was brilliant. F Society.
And he goes in, and there's like a hidden area there, and they got like a bunch of arcade machines and computers set up, and there's some other hackers there, including a woman who's a little bit bad-tempered.
Yep.
And so he's there meeting all of them. Christian Slater's character ends up kind of taking him on a Ferris wheel to discuss his plan, kind of talks about how they want to do their wealth distribution by taking down like the debt records of Evil Corp, and just completely obliterating them so that there's no way of tracking like who owed what to these companies, and basically just completely redistributing wealth by doing that.
Yeah.
Elliot's kind of wondering, is this something I should do? Is this not something I should do? Meanwhile, all around the time this is happening, like between these different times that this is happening, E-Corp has come into Elliot's office and walked through there, and Elliot meets a guy named Tyrell Wellick, who is
one of the heads of security, right?
Yeah. Who quickly kind of rattles Elliot a little bit, because he walks by his station, immediately identifies the version of Linux he's using, clearly is a smart person, and clearly identifies Elliot as like a person of interest.
Yeah,
And so this sets like Elliot on edge, because it's like, wow, he's used to reading people, and somebody just read him.
Yeah, and that was new.
That was new for him. He was a little bit surprised. But the plan that F Society has for Elliot initially is to basically make it look like one of the main the VP?
The CTO.
The CTO, yes, of Evil Corp. They want to set him up as being behind the attack. And so they have like a way of planting an IP address that links back to him to make it look like the CTO of this company is the one that caused this hack. And so they say, you're going to go into a meeting, have this. Elliot, meanwhile, is like, fuck society. Basically gets all the information he has on them and puts it in a folder and takes it with him to this meeting, and originally has it out in front of him to be the thing that he's going to give to the company to basically, instead of what F Society wanted, he's going to expose F Society.
He's going to expose F Society, take him down. He basically decides he's just going to take him down. He actually goes there to meet with Christian Slater, to meet with Mr. Robot, and basically tell him, I'm just going to take you guys down. That's basically what he goes tell him, but Mr. Robot is like, well, why don't you just do what we want you to do instead? And he's like, and so he goes into that meeting, fully intending to expose F Society to Evil Corp, except the CTO had to be like a super major dick to a woman that Elliot really, really likes, like a
it's
friend.
It's like his childhood friend,
Yeah, like the friend of his, he just like been like a super major dick to her for like no reason.
And so he swaps the files.
And
Tyrell Wellick notices. That's like an interesting point.
Yep, Tyrell Wellick notices right away that the files are switched. Like that.
He doesn't say anything.
He doesn't say anything. Because, you gotta figure, I think he's playing the long game.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything. Then days pass, but nothing happens. He says he's checking the internet. He's looking, he has it like the search. He did a search on his phone. You can see that came up 0 results.
Mm-hmm.
He goes back to the hangout where F Society was, and it's completely abandoned. And they're nowhere, Mr. Robot or any of them are nowhere to be found. Nothing has happened, and so he's left to wonder, what the hell? What is going on? Because was any of that even real?
And then it happens.
And then it happens. And then all of a sudden, it just happens. And
it's a huge deal. It's all over the news. Elliot's like walking through New York City and Times Square, and it's on like the Jumbotron or whatever behind him. The news that this guy, the CTO of Evil Corp, has been arrested for being involved in this hack and everything that's going on with this. It's a huge deal. Everything's going down on this. He's excited. He's like, wow, this is happening. It's really happening. And then some men in black suits.
Then those men in black suits come and they take him away.
Yeah.
It's like, and they take him to Evil Corp. And he goes into his boardroom, and again, this is another thing where you're seeing things from his perspective, because you're seeing him walk in, but all the figures in the room are blurry, and you cannot see them clearly at all.
They're all out of focus, yeah.
They're all out of focus.
But then quietly, one of those figures leans into focus, which is a really awesome shot, because it used a very, very narrow focus on the lens, so that basically he's completely out of focus and he leans into focus. Like the focus doesn't change. He just leans into the focal range. And it's Tywell Wellick. And he just does his best Hannibal impression and says, "Bonsoir, Elliot."
Yeah, yeah. And then it ends. And you're like, what the hell? Why did it end? Damn it.
Lucky for you, because when I watched it, I had like another 2 months before that episode was even going to air.
Yeah, another 2 months.
Much less episode 2.
So you were left in suspense for a long ass time, weren't you?
I just got enough rewatching the episode a bunch of times,
You probably, I see you say they're rocking back and forth in the corner going, I must see episode 2.
Then the episode came out legit for people like a month later, which was still like a month before the actual episode aired, but they released it on like all sorts of platforms like, iTunes and Google Play and stuff, and did all that like a month early so that people could check it out and get some word of mouth spread about it. So once that happened, then I'm like, okay, now I got to get all my friends into the show. So I watched the episode a bunch more times because I'm like, okay, I got to watch it with you. Now I got to watch it with you because you guys all have to see this. It's amazing. And eventually the episode came out, and I was waiting, and episode 2 came out, and I was able to get more of my Mr. Robot fix, which you get to get right away.
I get the pleasure of watching the next episode whenever I please.
Yeah, and I'm going to wait until the entire series is ended.
I know, right?
So yeah, season 2 is about to start this month. I believe there's 13 episodes currently available. If you do want to watch those, they are all available for free to Amazon Prime subscribers. Originally I thought it was on Hulu, but then I found out like they only have, I think, from episode 5 or 6 on, in typical Hulu fashion. They'll have random episodes from the season up there.
Oh,
nothing on Netflix. Amazon has the exclusive streaming rights for the full season. And season 2 is going to kick off on USA, so look forward to that. It's going to be a double episode premiere with a post show called Hacking Robot afterwards. But that is Mr. Robot. I am so glad you finally watched it.
Yeah.
You need to watch more so we can discuss it and get ready for season 2, which kicks off this, which I'm so excited for. Let's go to the last part of our this week's podcast, and we're going to talk about our show club, which is Peaky Blinders. We're talking about season 2, episode 3, which upon this completion of this takes us exactly halfway through the entire series.
Yep.
This episode episode. Interesting stuff going on. This is largely focused, I think, on Polly having her son there with her now.
Yep.
And her attempts to kind of keep him out of all of the family business stuff that's going on.
Except, he wants to be involved in the family business.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, come on, this looks awesome.
Even Tommy is like, trying to keep him out of it, He's like, that speech Tommy gives to him, like, what we do isn't right, people get hurt, And
he's like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, he's like, I don't care. Yeah, I know.
He's like, I want in on this shit. So, his main role comes in where they decide that they're going to go buy a horse. And the reason they're buying a horse is so they have a legitimate reason to get into where, Darby Sabini's, tracks. Because they have to have a legitimate reason to be there if they're going to kind of start staking stuff out and plotting their moves on him. And the way they can do that is by being the owner of a racehorse.
Right, exactly.
So they're going to go to a horse auction, and Polly's son Michael ends up learning about this, and he wants to go with them. Polly's like, absolutely not. And he's like, oh, come on, what the hell? And, they have a big blowout. Ends up being that John Shelby ends up talking to Polly and saying, look, if you basically don't let him do anything and try to overly protect him, you're going to scare him off.
Yeah.
He's going to take off. He's not going to be here anymore. Let him go. We're just going to see a horse. That's it. This isn't like we're doing an operation here. We're just straight up going to get a horse. It's no big deal.
Yeah. You're going to buy a horse, It's like, it couldn't be any more vanilla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And Polly doesn't even want to let him do so much as that,
Yeah. Eventually she ends up breaking where she's like, okay, fine, he can go. Meanwhile, kind of around this time, we see Arthur. He's in his bar. A woman comes in, ends up pulling a gun on him. We find out this is the mother of the kid that he beat to death.
Yep.
The boxer.
It's a very emotional scene. He had snorted a line of cocaine right before that happened. So he's high when this encounter happens, and she pulls a gun on him, but she can't pull the trigger. She can't kill him.
She's just a normal person. She's not part of this lifestyle.
Yeah, she's not part of the lifestyle, so she doesn't have it in her.
But he's basically, saying, you have other sons, I'll take care of them, I'll get them jobs, you won't have to work. And she flips over a table and is screaming at him.
Fuck you.
Yeah, she's like, somebody needs to stop you people.
Yeah.
And she takes off. We also see a bit of, Alfie Solomon's, Tom Hardy's character, running his new crew.
I really love Tom Hardy in this, his character. They're running his new crew.
Yeah, it's the Peaky Blinder men that are working under him. He gets a moment to kind of show who's boss. One guy kind of makes a snide comment to get some laughs from the other guys. He gets right up in his face, pulls out his cane and whacks the guy next to him.
Yep, knocks him the fuck out.
Basically knocks out all his teeth.
Yeah, knocks out all his teeth. He lays down the rules, and he's super intimidating.
It was really intense because he'll be alive. He won't have any teeth left, but he'll be alive. And the last thing he'll remember before he was knocked out was your funny joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's showing how he's kind of taking care of business there. Tommy's just kind of sitting there watching the whole time. He basically opened up the opportunity for Alfie to do that in the first place. Yeah. So he's not he doesn't care. He's going along with it. Meanwhile, one of the Peaky Blinders was caught, kind of a stupid kid.
He was set up to be caught,
Yeah. He's in the prisons.
I love that he's in the prison. What are you? Yeah. They're like, what was your job? Illegal bookmaking. It's like, and the cop's just like, you don't just admit to that. You make something up like that, and then we decide you're lying.
So they end up arresting the kid.
Yeah.
We have a scene where Darby Sabini is being all intimidating towards one of his underlings and telling him, they basically have this moment where the guy says, okay, so I'll kill the kid that's in jail. And so
because he asked Sabini if they should do it, and then Sabini grabs him and he's like, what are you doing trying to make me say something like that out loud, you know?
Yeah.
Who are you working for? You know, you could tell Sabini is like a really paranoid person. Yeah.
Just fucked up paranoid guy. So they end up going into that jail, his men, and they kill that kid. And so, this is kind of like weighing on Tom, and he addresses everybody and says, let's not forget that this kid died. Like we're going to do something about this.
Yeah.
So this is all going on as they're getting ready to go to the horse auction. Also, we have Inspector Campbell. Tommy finds out where he lives, approaches him, and basically lets him know that the owner of his hotel that he's staying at is a semi-retired prostitute.
Yeah, semi-retired prostitute.
Which is basically implying that, like, the police officers that set him up in this hotel are basically, like, fucking with him.
Yeah.
Because they know that he went and visited prostitutes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like their way of, like, fucking with him. And now he's, like, all pissed off and talking about scorching the earth and...
scorching the earth and getting rid of you kind and all this. Yeah.
He's not happy. He's angry. What else here? Let's get to the horse auction then. Okay, yeah. So at the horse auction, Tommy catches the eye of a young woman.
Or a young woman, yeah.
Who, incidentally, is played by Charlotte Riley, who is actually Tom Hardy's, like, wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She appeared in Jonathan Strange and Dr. Norrell, the miniseries about bringing magic back to England from about a year and a half ago, I guess. So she appeared in that, and she's Tom Hardy's wife. That's kind of what she's known for. So she's on this show. Interesting that she and Tom Hardy are both on it.
So basically, she instantly becomes fascinated by Thomas, you know, and she starts betting on the horse that he's there to bet on, you know.
Ends up kind of putting him above his budget.
Yeah, trying to outbid him, you know. She puts him above his budget. Thomas doesn't flinch one bit. He goes as high as he needs to get this horse without even seeming to flinch.
Which ends up being, I mean, the original amount he planned to spend was like 1,000, and he ended up spending over 2,000.
2,050, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
2,050 was a gilly, they said. Yeah. I guess that was the currency at the time. I don't know. And so he ends up spending more. She ends up walking over and talking to him. They got their little, like, mysterious, like, will they, won't they thing going on. You know, Tommy again, like, basically, opening himself up to, a woman that could end up causing him a lot of trouble.
Yep, pretty much. Cause you don't know where her loyalties lie or, you know, anything about her really. So that happened, when they're leaving the auction, Sabini's men make a move on Thomas because basically what Sabini, like, commanded was, you know, after they kill the kid in prison, they're gonna go straight for Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what happens, except, you know, it fails because they manage to fight off the attackers.
Yeah.
And you see, the older brother there.
Arthur, yeah.
See Arthur go full on psycho again, you know, just beating the guy who pulled the gun, beat him to death.
Nearly to death.
They
said he was still breathing.
Yeah, they say he was still breathing. Even, like, so much as, like, takes a bite out of his neck. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
He's just going full on psycho. That's his character arc this season.
Yeah, Pretty much. It took like 3 guys to pull him off of him.
Yeah. And so that's kind of what happened. Then Michael Gray, Polly's son, comes out. He's obviously shaken by everything he's seen, but still wants to be involved. Ends up lying to Polly and saying everything went fine because he still wants to be involved. He still wants to become a bad boy, like his cousins.
Yeah, he wants to be a Peaky Blinder.
So that's basically how the episode ends, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
It's still good. I do have a few complaints about this episode. Mostly what was the deal with them constantly playing covers of their opening theme?
I don't know.
Like 2 different covers of their opening theme in this episode. It felt a little self-indulgent.
Yeah.
They're like, check it out. There's some covers of this song too. We'll stick it on. And then they played another song by Nick Cave, who wrote the original song.
Yes.
So they played another song by the guy who wrote the theme song too. So it was like this weird, I don't know what they were doing with the music on this episode. It was a little strange. Like I said, felt a little bit self-indulgent to me, that part. But otherwise, good episode. Not sure what they're doing, if I like so much what they're doing with Arthur either. Going full on psycho. I definitely think he's more 3-dimensional than he was in the last episode, but if they're just gonna have every situation basically regresses to him almost beating somebody to death, then that's gonna get a little played out.
Yeah, that definitely is. Yeah, definitely.
Because, but overall, still really liking it, still really enjoying it. It's funny how these different things you watch can kind of influence your perception of something else when you're watching it. And I'd mentioned before how similar the show is to Boardwalk Empire, and how certain things just kind of pop out at me that I'm like, oh, this is like this in Boardwalk Empire, In this episode in particular, with it focusing so heavily on Polly's son Michael, it's really reminding me of this new show that's been airing on TNT called Animal Kingdom. That's about this kid that gets involved with his family, and his family that he'd never really been attached to his whole life. His mom overdoses and dies, and he has nowhere to go, so he ends up going to them. And they're this kind of crime family. They're this California crime family. And it's just kind of this really fucked up family. And it's there's a matriarchal figure in the family that's kind of the head of the family that is very similar in this sense to Polly on this show. So it's just funny watching it and being God, I'm just drawing so many parallels where it's almost confusing at points. Oh yeah, this character is kind of like this. I don't like this about this character. Oh no, wait, I'm letting the similarities of that character to this other character on this other show influence my opinion on this character,
Right, yeah, definitely.
So I just wanted to say that was just kind of this episode in particular, because this episode in particular was so heavily focused on Michael that it just really reminded me of this whole series on TNT.
All right, well, yeah.
But yeah, so you're still enjoying the series?
Oh yeah, definitely. It continues to be good show, good stuff.
Tom Hardy is amazing in it. I'm really enjoying it.
Is awesome. He really knocks it out of the park.
Sam Neill just continues to be really good at playing this very kind of unhinged guy.
Yep,
that's just a wild card in a sense.
All the actors they got are
proper, but there's something really broken in him.
Yep, all the actors they got are really top tier. It's awesome.
So yeah, that's it for the podcast, I guess. We're done talking about Peaky Blinders. So if you want to watch Peaky Blinders along with us, this is only episode 9 that we just discussed. So you could binge and catch up with us by next week. We're talking about 1 episode a week of Peaky Blinders, as well as whatever else we end up having to, or what we end up watching, what we're going to talk about as well. So stay tuned for that. Tune back in next week, and we'll be talking about episode 4 of season 2. Episode 10 of the series as a whole. Like I said, as well as other stuff, we're probably going to be talking about Brain Dead, maybe some more Mr. Robot. But yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Bye.
Goodbye.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more